Good evening. Welcome to the Southbridge School Committee meeting of December 12th, 2017, 7 p.m. Call to order. Roll call, please.
Mr. Bishop?
Present.
Ms. Duval? Present. Mr. Lazo?
Present.
Dr. Page?
Excused.
Ms. Peliquin?
Present.
Ms. Bryan?
Present.
Mr. Tomo? 5 present, 2 excused or absent.
Thank you. Would you all please join me in Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you. At this time, we will have public input. Is there anybody from the audience that would like to address the school committee this evening? Would you please come forward to the podium? Right up there, please. If you could just state your name and your address for the record, please.
So, hi, my name is Jarice, and I'm here to speak in regards of my daughter. She goes to East Road School. And I got some pretty upsetting news today. So my daughter's 3 years old. She suffers from Dravet syndrome. It's pretty rare. It's basically a severe case of epilepsy. She can go on season for an hour or two. She has many triggers. Things as simple as bright lights, flashing lights, her being too happy, frustrated, especially when she's sick. So before she started school, I really wanted a one-on-one with her. We didn't really get it. They said they no longer do it. She's in preschool also. So then they said she was going to be in a class, the discovery class. And they said in that class, there will be a nurse at all times. So I felt comfortable with sending my daughter to school with having the nurse present. Now I find out today that they're going to be taking out the nurse from that school and putting her in Charlton Street School. And now I know there's still going to be a nurse at Eastford Road, but my concern is my daughter can have a seizure at any moment. And if that nurse is with another student or she's busy somewhere, every minute matters for my daughter's life. This is a very life-threatening syndrome, and I don't think the school is knowing how serious it is, you know. So that's my main concern. So what's going to happen with my daughter now? If the nurse leaves, you know, she has a seizure, the other teachers aren't prepared to give her Diastat. They're not medically licensed to give her Diastat. So that's where my concern comes. I want to know if they can train someone to be there with her, or what's going to happen. If not, I won't feel comfortable sending her to school, and I will keep her home until things get better, because it's just something so serious. She's my only daughter. I don't want to risk anything. Right. You know, she has to be supervised at all times. Her walking is bad because of the syndrome. She can't speak for herself, so she gets frustrated. She hurts herself. She wears a helmet, but she's so fast that there's times they don't get to put the helmet on right before she bumps her head. She comes home with bruises all the times, which, you know, I understand. And I'm grateful for the group that's taking care of her right now. They're awesome. You know, you can tell my daughter enjoys going to school. She loves them. Every time they come get her, she has a smile in her face. And now, you know, if they're gonna take that nurse away, and there's times, you know, they're like, it's been, you know, it was a busy day. Sometimes they forget to bring the notebook, stuff like that. So my concern is not having that nurse there with my daughter. You know, is it gonna be too crazy for my daughter to be there? She's very hyper. What's gonna happen? You know, so I
Okay, well,
you know.
As you know, under the receivership, I'm gonna refer this directly to Dr. Johnston. I'm sure he'll have comment.
Sure. And thank you. We appreciate you coming tonight. Really my comment, as it would be to any parent who comes before us, is that we'll follow up immediately. And we'll make sure that we get back to you and let you know what our plans are and work with you to include you in those plans. Your daughter's safety is of our first and primary concern, and so we'll make sure that she has that safe learning environment that you've come to depend on and expect from us. And so I appreciate you bringing this to us tonight, and we'll just make sure we follow up right away.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
I would like to actually make a comment because, I mean, for full disclosure, I work with IRLA, so when I first heard about this, it actually kind of threw me for a loop. The fact that this move happened always going to happen without some sort of transition or plan for the students that might be affected is it's very frightening, especially since this could be a daughter's life. As a medical professional, it does scare me. It makes me think that we're not, even though you're saying this is of the utmost concern, it makes me think that this student safety and health is not of the utmost concern. So that did quite scare me, and I am thankful for Yari's coming tonight, because this is something in my mind that's totally intolerable.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing with them.
One more. Did you get her name, full name, so that you can respond to her and her address?
Sure. We can certainly find her, but your last name too, please?
It's Jaris Rojas.
Yes. Great.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else from the audience who would like to address the school committee this evening? Seeing none, we will move on to item 4, discussion of the minutes of our November 14th, 2017 school committee meeting. Are there any corrections, additions, deletions anyone would like to bring forward at this time? Seeing none, we'll move on to new business number 5. We're going to have a presentation, Dr. Johnson?
Absolutely. So thank you, Mr. Bishop. The principals and I wanted to make sure that you had a closer awareness of what's happening in each of the schools. And so at each month in the upcoming months, you can expect that one principal will come to each meeting and give you an overview of what's happening in their schools, because we think this is really important for you to have that strong sense of what's going on in the district and the progress that the schools are making. So the principals had the opportunity to sign up for which month they wanted to come to, and really appreciate that the Eastford Road team under the leadership of Mary Skripczak is with us tonight to give us the first presentation, and you can look forward to others in the upcoming months. Just recognize that we have more months than we do schools, and so we won't have one every month, but really from now until the end of the spring, you should expect that you'll see a principal coming and giving a presentation at each meeting, including, I think, our last school to go will be Southbridge Academy.
Good evening. First of all, I would like to thank the school committee for the opportunity for presenting tonight and to showcase our school. So we want to start talking a little bit about the update on what is happening at Eastford Road. So tonight's presentation is going to be presented by myself, Mary Beth Skripczak, principal of Eastford Road School, and...
Good evening, I'm Jason Demon, I'm the assistant principal.
All right, so the first thing we want to share with you is that Eastford Road, we are sharing the district's vision that in Southbridge Public Schools, all students will experience a world-class education and graduate as engaged citizens who demonstrate the essential skills required for success in college and career.
Eastford Road School is the home of perfect readers. At Eastford Road, we practice, we understand, we recognize, and we read.
So this is our student-friendly instructional focus. This is the one we convey to students at the beginning of the year and is posted in every classroom. And then here is our much wordier adult-friendly focus, which basically explains that foundational skills in reading are the primary focus at Eastford Road School, and these are all the ways that we measure that success in our students, all the way from kindergarten, preschool, grade 1, and in our new dual language program. So we've had some welcome additions to Eastford Road School this year. Starting with the dual language program, we also received a new curriculum in English and Spanish, which is from the American Reading Company. That's both languages for the program in both kindergarten and grade 1. We've also received the entire grade 1 faculty and students at Eastford Road this year. We have established a transitional learning classroom. We have also recently begun a newcomer classroom. We have breakfast in the classroom for preschool students, and we have added some new positions as well. So I'm very thankful that we have the assistant principal, Mr. Demon, and we have a reading teacher for both kindergarten and grade 1. We have also adopted a new assessment this year, which is new for Eastford Road School, which is the benchmark assessment system by Fountas and Pinnell. And although it's not new to the district, to our school with grade 1, the school city assessment. So I'm sure you're all very familiar with our district turnaround plan and that it has 5 priority areas. I'm not going to read these to you, but just know that a lot of time was spent this summer in district leadership team and in professional development with Mr. Deeman and myself, setting priority areas for the school in making our school improvement plan. So we just want to show you how it is aligned to the district turnaround. So we've chosen 3 priority areas, and the 3 areas that we've chosen to focus on. Area number 1, naturally because we are an early childhood school and the foundation lies with us for academic success throughout every child's career. We want to build a strong literacy foundation at Eastford Road School for all students. Our second priority is that every decision made at the building level is data-driven, and obviously we're always looking to improve our climate and culture. So now we're going to break these down for you individually and by priority area. So priority area 1 was about building a strong reading foundation. So it is our priority that every student leave Eastford Road reading on grade level. So we have some short-term and long-term outcomes, but basically that speaks for itself. Priority area 2 is data-based decision-making based on data, but I'm going to forward a little bit on this so we can share with you why this is such a high priority for us. And as many of you know, there are not a lot of high-stakes testing at the kindergarten and first grade level. So for the past at least 3 years that I've been principal, starting my 4th now, the only measure that we have had is the DIBELS. It's a screening tool, what it is to really determine or predict reading success for our students. And for the past several years, off the top of my head, at the end of the year, our proficiency level for our kindergarten students has been anywhere from like 74%, ranging up to 87%. So we've been thinking that we've been doing this fabulous job with teaching children our early literacy and our foundational skills. And it's really hasn't given us the data we needed to figure out really what reading level our students are at. So now that we've adopted the BAS assessment, it is a much more comprehensive tool. And our kindergarten teachers have done actually a phenomenal job of teaching skills of letter names, sounds, blending, segmenting, sight word fluency, and we've scored up to 87% proficient until this point. But we haven't really drilled down to reading level and problem areas of reading for each student. So we have this new diagnostic tool now that we're using to assess, and this is a much more comprehensive tool that looks at comprehension, it looks at accuracy, a lot more higher order thinking, and fluency level as well. So we're finding with these results, and I actually brought our past 3 years DIBELS results that you can see, this is quite alarming for us at Eastford Road when we administered this new assessment. So as you can see, our kindergarten students coming in, green is proficient, yellow is a limited proficiency, and red is not proficient. So clearly we have our work cut out for us at Eastford Road School, and grade 1, the colors are the same. So this is why we chose this as our priority area. So more important than why for the data is what does this mean? How are we going to move forward? And what are we going to do at Eastford Road School? So having this as our priority area, what it means for staff, Basically, we have a continuous cycle for data analysis that we are constantly looking at student data. We have spent all of our professional development time to date on looking at the data and deciding how we're going to administer support to our students. We have organized a win block, which is called What I Need. So there is a certain time of the day, there is a block just for kindergarten students where all hands on board are working on core instruction and independent skills for all students, and also we're doing that at the first grade level as well. All of our collaboration and planning time is also spent focused on reading instruction. And we are constantly looking at assessment and progress monitoring students to make sure that our interventions are working. Students are now goal setting for every student, determining what a reading goal is for every student based on their independent reading level and instructional level. And we have also established a literacy block criteria at every grade level. So what does this mean for students? That every student has their own individual learning goal, and that every child is receiving targeted intervention and support at their grade level, at their reading level, and they now have a consistent daily routine for daily practice of whatever the skill that they are looking to improve. So here are just some photos of what our win block looks like for at the preschool level, at kindergarten level, and grade 1 level. So priority area 2. So I'm going to preface this with an apology. This is not to just quickly go over. There is so much data in this. We could probably spend an hour on every slide. So I think we've shown you our critical piece first, but if you have questions, feel free. But we're just going to skim over this just so you know that not only are we looking at academic data at Eastford Road School, there are several different data that we are using to drive our decision making. So our priority area 2 is using data. Oh my gosh. Should have brought my cheaters. Using data to drive decision-making, not only reading assessment data, but to prioritize goals for the school. There. All right, so what does this mean for staff? Again, we've created a data review cycle. We're constantly looking at data and analyzing data. Again, we're using our collaboration and our common planning time to review data. Data collection is being used as evidence for every decision we make, and it's helping us make priorities in our school. What does this mean for students? Students, when they're given their data, they are able to self-monitor. They are given continuous feedback about their growth. Eventually, we want to do the gradual release of responsibility, and instead of teachers goal setting for students, we would like students goal setting. And it's really no secrets communication. So children know this is why we're working on this and this is why it's important. So they don't have to guess, why are we doing this? So again, here's our benchmark assessment system data. For our dual language program, our new ARC reading program has 2 types of assessments. So students are 50% of the day being delivered instruction in English, and 50% of the day is in Spanish. So they are assessed in both, whether they speak English or Spanish. So all students in the dual language program, kindergarten and grade 1, are given the reading assessment in English, and then they're given texts in Spanish. And naturally, so the colors are the same, red, yellow, and green, for proficiency levels. And then, as you can, I don't know if you can see the numbers down here, but again, there's more red than yellow. We do have some green. And this is Spanish, which is Evaluación del Nivel Independiente de Lectura, which is basically English for child's independent reading level in Spanish. So this is where children are given Spanish books And it's really if they can pick up the pattern in the book and then repeat and understand that basic tracking and repetitive skill, which is a preliminary skill to reading. But a lot of children are at the LIER, which is read to me level, and we would naturally expect, since our students haven't been given previous instruction in Spanish or any phonics, they have not had that foundation, so we would expect that their reading level in Spanish would naturally be lower than their level in English. So our grade 1 assessments, this is School City. So this is from our first unit assessment this fall in ELA. So red is warning, yellow need improvement, green is proficient, and 4 is advanced. Here is our math, and we have last year and this year. So there has been an improvement in math from Unit 1 assessment last year at this time to Unit 1 this year at this time. So we now have children in the advanced category in math there.
Can I just ask,
sure.
I hate to interrupt. What's the blue on the 17-18?
So the blue is the advanced category,
That's advanced.
where there was not one in the previous year.
It's a challenge to see it up there, but
I'm
thank you.
sorry, yeah.
Thank you.
All right, so here's some additional data for you. So the graph on the left is a graph of our English language learners. So 19% of our school are English language learners, and then the graph on, graph on the right gives the kindergarten and grade 1 total, and the graph on the left, we've broken that down. Of our 68 L students, it's broken down by language proficiency, level 1 through level 4. And if you look at our newcomers, which are in orange, level 1 and level 2 are pink and purple. That makes up a decent number of our English language learners coming into the school. So these are our special education graphs. The first one, if you go across the top, the first one on the left is preschool. So 35% of our preschool students are students with special needs. Kindergarten, we're at 12%, and grade 1, 16%. And then down in the bottom right corner, that's our school-wide, so we're about 17% school-wide, students with special needs. So here's our attendance data. Clearly you can see across the board, preschool, kindergarten, and grade 1, our attendance rates were higher in September, decreased with the exception of kindergarten in October, and declining in November.
So the district has really given us robust tools to help put our resources where they're needed the most. This is our SWIS database, which stands for School-Wide Information System, and this takes care of our discipline referral data analysis. Whenever we get a discipline referral from a teacher, we're able to put this into our system, and it tells us a lot of information when the discipline referrals are happening, where they are happening in the building or in the bus, and what time of day. So that really gives us some good data to analyze to put our resources when the kids are having their most difficulty. As you can see on the weekly data, the referrals did go down in October. Now, this is up to date through November 15th, but we can see with the weekly data, the least amount of discipline referrals happen on a Friday.
So just some additional data for you on school-wide events. At Open House, we hosted 276 families, parent conferences. We had 229 conferences. At our Hispanic Heritage Parade, 179 families attended. We've had 3 classroom celebrations so far, in which 43 parents were in attendance. And since the beginning of the year, we've had 752 visitors and volunteers sign into the school. So priority area 3 is establishing a climate that supports parents, students, and educators working together for academic achievement, cultivating shared leadership and responsibility, and professional collaboration. So what does this mean for community, staff, and students? Basically, that we are a school, we cannot do it alone. We are looking for all stakeholders to be included in decision-making at the building level. We want them included in strategic planning and shared leadership at Eastford Road School. So culture and climate starts in the school with us and with the teachers. So this is just a look at the professional development that we have provided so far for faculty. So about 63.5 hours so far, and it shows a variety of things that we've had professional development in. Some of our staff have received applied nonviolence training. Eastford Road grade level teams have participated. They have an hour a week of common planning time. For shared leadership, we have some teacher-led PD, so teachers have presented. They've done curriculum writing. We have a teacher who made a demo lesson, and that lesson is being used in the RBT class that she's taking right now. She has also provided professional development for our educational assistants on strategies to teach students how to read during the WIN block, so when educational assistants are taking small groups during our WIN block. And we've had teachers present on Math Talk. In our dual language program, in addition to the 63.5 hours that all other teachers have attended, they have, and school administration has attended an additional 60 hours of professional development with our new partner, the Massachusetts Association for Bilingual Education, that's through MABE, and the American Reading Company, which is the reading company that we've got our curriculum through. And we also have an estimated about 3,400 books were included in our American Reading Company resources in English and Spanish for both kindergarten and grade 1. So, parent feedback. This is data that we recently received on the survey that was put out in the fall. And although we have over 400 students at our school, it looks like 70 families participated in our survey and 32 staff. And the benefit of having a survey like this is that we receive feedback from staff who think this is how we're doing at this level, and we also receive back from parents, this is how we feel the school is doing. So at our last faculty meeting, we looked at this data and we kind of made a game plan of what are our priority areas for what we need to do next. So again, we're continually looking for feedback from not only staff, but from family and community. Another aspect of our culture at Eastford Road School is our PBIS program, which is Positive Behavior Intervention and Supports. And we also have a Shining Star program. At the end, actually the first Friday of every month, we have a PBIS assembly where we celebrate all of the positive going on at Eastford Road School, which is students that earn golden paws for their classroom, skill tickets for being respectful, responsible, and ready to learn. The Wildcat, our mascot, comes and dances with the students who all earn prizes and awards. And the Shining Star is, we have a character trait every month where students practice demonstrating that skill, and at the end of the month, every classroom teacher chooses a student who best demonstrates that characteristic, and they're also celebrated at our assembly. Positive action is part of the curriculum, social emotional curriculum, that contributes to the climate and culture of our school, and as you can see, they have puppets, and this is examples in preschool and kindergarten. And then opportunities for parent participation or community involvement, preschool and kindergarten orientations. We had a parent volunteer who was also a local author who read a story to our preschool class. Every week we have banking at school where Savers Bank comes and does banking with our children. This is Miss Frabata. This plaque that she is holding every year, she, I would say, spearheads our food drive for a local food pantry, and she received that plaque for 10 years in a row of recognizable service of leading that for us every year. For the Festival of Giving Trees, for the past 4 years, Eastford Road has had a tree at the festival. This year, between collections and literacy books and things that we've bought to put under our tree, we donated over $400 for the literacy tree at the festival. Southbridge Fire Department visits us for school assemblies. And we currently have 3 students right now from Southbridge High School in a teacher apprenticeship program that come to Eastford Road kindergarten classrooms. And actually this week they will be observing in preschool. So here, there are many opportunities for community outreach and engagement stated here. I don't know that you can read them all, but so going back to our district's turnaround plan, we have 5 priority areas, and clearly you can see everything that we are doing at Eastford Road is well aligned to that turnaround work. And we have some upcoming events at Eastford Road that we would love to share with you. So we are doing our benchmark assessment testing. Those are those graphs that we showed you earlier. We're hoping all of our hard work paid off. We will begin administering those this Friday. And we will not be having a win block next week because we want to allow our interventionists to assess all students. Report cards will be going home at the end of the week. We have holiday shows for kindergarten and preschool on the 21st. We are planning a trip to the nursing home with our kindergarten students and Shining Stars to perform snippet of their holiday concert, and the winter show for grade 1 is scheduled to be in January. So, what questions do you have for us?
Go ahead. My only question is, what day do you plan on taking them to the nursing home? Because I'll make sure I'm there working that day.
I believe it's the 22nd in the morning.
Okay, perfect. I will make sure to be there.
Okay.
That's awesome.
What is it? They're having a
field trip to the nursing home in Jefferson.
Make sure to be there.
After Dr. Johnston approves it. Any other questions for us?
Any other questions for Simpson? No.
Okay.
Thank you.
I think that deserves a hand. I want to thank Mary and the assistant principal and all the staff at Eastford Road. I've had the opportunity to travel in quite often, not as much in the last couple of years, but it's a fun place. Having worked with the other end of the spectrum of students up at the high school level, seeing the youngsters at that age, they're adorable. They're a blast, and you guys do a great job down. We thank you very much. I'm sure the whole committee thanks. Ms. Pelican?
I just wanted to say thank you so much. That was really great. I'm so proud of the work you do at that school. My kids are older now and they don't go there anymore, but we had such a great experience at Eastford Road School. So just thank you so much for all that you do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lau.
In my limited Spanish, muchas gracias.
De nada.
Mr. Lazo, no comments?
You never let us down over the years, and you just outdo yourself every year. Job well done.
Thank you.
For the kids, thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll see you next year. Thanks. Speaking of going from one spectrum to the other, we're going to right now call on our high school representative to give us an update on what's going on up at Torrey Road, Francis Garcia.
Okay. Yeah, that's better. Okay, so I kind of did a report since last time. I gave some kind of cause and effects things that we can do at the school. I just have a report of what's going on and what's going to happen in the next couple of weeks. Recently, the student council and Ms. De Jesus are beginning a hat, coat, and mitten drive for the community because we know a lot of people are coming from Puerto Rico because of the hurricane, so we want to make sure that everybody has winter gear. National Honor Society is beginning a toy drive. They do it every year, but it's for the Toys for Tots, and we're really excited to do that. Student council and a couple of helping hands. We're happy to take part in the Festival of Giving Trees, and the tree was in honor of Miss Jackie Varon, who was a longtime member of the school system and who recently passed away. I asked a couple students around about the cafeteria food because in the past it's been a little rough for them. I don't know, because I take home lunch. They say that the cafeteria food has gotten much better, and now we have this kind of like you can make your own sandwich kind of thing and wraps. So they're really excited about that. Tomorrow there is this really good opportunity for the seniors. We get about 5 colleges, Framingham State, QCC, Worcester State, I'm pretty sure Becker, and a couple other colleges are coming for instant decision days. So they help you apply for college, and they tell you tomorrow if you're going to be accepted. So that way it'll help the seniors be ready and just not be in March worrying about not applying. And so that's really exciting because we've never had that before, and it's just a great opportunity for everybody. Tomorrow is the winter chorus and band concert. It starts at 7. I wanted to add that I was glad that we had I don't know if it was the state, but the receiver was there. They went around and went to the classrooms to see what was going on and evaluating the teachers, and I'm so happy that they started doing that, and I hope it continues to happen because I've seen a lot of improvement in the week that they went from now. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Attention to Dr. Johnson, who's going to give us an update on a recently completed school climate survey.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Bishop, and Ms. Farrick will join me in this update as well. So if you recall, at last month's meeting, I brought you one school's set of data and then told you for this meeting we would bring you all of the data from all the schools. And if you remember, we had this survey completed in the early part of the fall, really to get a baseline for this year and useful information for the principals and staff members and school site councils to use to plan with and to factor into their school improvement plans, because we've said that the school improvement plans are living documents and want to continue to improve them as the year goes on. So if you would turn to page 3 of 12 and let's look at Charlton's results, because Ms. Skripczak referred to her results, but we didn't have the kindergartners or first graders take the survey, and so I just want to start and really focus on one school where we have student results, staff results, and parent results. So remember, for parents, when we gave a survey previously, we had 0 participation. And in this round of results, we had 20% participation of our families from Southbridge, which is a huge improvement, really gets the family voice included into the perspective that a survey provides us. So just by what we're looking at are the various categories, so school climate, academic engagement, even just on this first page, and social emotional learning. Take a look at under academic engagement in blue, and then learning engagement. So students are asked to what extent are they actively engaged in their learning. And this is where you can see a bit of a discrepancy between a student report being lower than the perception of parents and staff. And so this is the type of information that's useful to us to say, what are the students telling us about their experience in schools versus what do we think their experience in school is. And it's not only about where there's a difference or a difference in spread, as you can see over on the right-hand side, but where there's commonality. And so you can see, for example, with academic motivation, the next line down, that the students are saying that they are bringing more motivation than maybe and then the parents are a little bit higher and the staff are seeing a little bit lower. And so these varying viewpoints help us understand and address these issues. So what we've asked the principals to do, we had a great opportunity to review these data with some experts who came in kind of at no additional cost to the district to help us understand the data and what to do about it. And we agreed that we wanted to take this out and share them with not only, like I said, our staff and our site-based councils, which include parents, but also in many cases with the students, because we want to hear from students about what makes you perceive this. What are your experiences in the day that make you either feel, very positively about academic motivation, or perhaps a little less positively about your level of engagement in learning. And so having this information helps us improve what students are experiencing in schools. And we allowed the schools to go about it in different ways. They didn't all have to approach the data in exactly the same way, but they all have a unique plan for incorporating the data into their school improvement plans to make sure that they are used and lived and viable for improving what's happening in our schools. The final thing that I'll say, and then certainly Ms. Ferret, glad to have you add your wisdom to this as well, we will repeat this survey again in the spring so that we have a chance to see what changes during this school year and repeat it again then in the future so we can continue to see the improvement as it occurs.
I'd just like to ask, how long does it take a parent or a student or a teacher to complete the survey?
So keep in mind that, for example, with the parents, we also included questions about the receiver. This was all one survey that we did all at once. I think the parent survey could have been about 5-10 minutes. It was a brief survey.
And they were translated this year. The surveys they can either take them electronically, they could take them pen and paper at home, at the school, and there was a Spanish and an English version for all parents. And if you look at the data, the elementary schools had more parent involvement, and I think that goes to show because we have a parent liaison, a family liaison in those buildings who really made a ton of phone calls, were at the door every time a parent came in. There was a window of time when the survey was given or the opportunities for it to be filled out. So I think that was important. It's also really interesting. I sat in at the high school today when they were doing their SIP review, and they spent a lot of time reviewing their data. And it was really interesting for the staff to really take a step back and really look at the students' perceptions, because that's what this data is showing, is what are the students' perceptions about their experience at the high school in particular. And it was a really rich discussion and healthy conversation around how their perceptions are different than the students' perceptions. And I think that's where we start to begin to see change happening, when you can hear each other's sides, even if it's on paper. And it was really encouraging because they're excited to share this information and get students' voice again. So bring it back and have a conversation about the data with students and with parents.
Oh, I'm sorry, Jim. Ms. Ryan.
Thank you. Going through all these surveys, it seems like there's a consistent theme is the safe and supportive learning environment consistently scores lower than the rest of the document. So I wonder what you obviously this must be a key concern for you, considering it's scoring low in almost every school system. So what are you doing necessarily to address those concerns?
Sure. So I think that it goes back to what Ms. Skripsek had to talk about, like when she showed you what she was doing that climate and culture was one of her 3 main areas from within her school improvement plan. And you're going to hear that same message from each of the principals. They've all identified that even before seeing these data as a key area that they're working on this year. And there's a variety of ways in which we're doing it. And so, we heard tonight about creating welcoming learning environments, creating culturally responsive learning environments, creating the data that we could see that Mr. Demon presented that showed us what time of day, where do we see problematic behaviors coming up that are leading students to say that they might not feel as safe and supported in school as they need to. So having a deeper look into the data helps us plan and make sure that those spaces and those times of day are well supported. So for example, if students are saying when they transition to the bus at the end of the day, and there aren't as many adults watching, just as an example, and we see that's when a lot of behavior issues are spiking up, the staff then know at the school, we need to provide more support there. We need to make that unstructured time more structured so that students do feel safe and supported all throughout the day.
Can I speak to that? It's really about creating, when you think about creating a learning environment, you have the academics, which is what you think of traditionally is what the teachers' jobs are. But in this day, especially in Southbridge, paralleling everything we do with the academics is creating the conditions for learning. So how do we create systems and structures, whole school, within the classroom, and a lot of times really changing adult behavior to support what students need in a different way. And that's called, Tier 1. And every school in the district is really working on what are our kids' needs, developing wraparound services that aren't just about academics, about meeting their social emotional needs, their behavioral needs, sometimes food, water, clothing, helping with housing. The word safe learning environment is very different and much, much more broad than what it's ever been. And putting the practices into place to meet the whole child's needs.
Any other questions on this report? No, my only concern throughout the entire board is the academic engagement seems to be obviously an area of intense concern that I'm sure you're aware of, and I'm sure that people reading this report. So I think we need to put some definite strategies in place to see if these scores can't come up before the next survey cycle.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you. Well said.
Thank you. I'm going to turn it back over to the receiver at this point for his receiver's update.
Great. And hard for me to shine a light against the Eastford Road update, so I'll be brief and go through my report tonight, because I think that Eastford Road in that video really stole the show, which I loved, so thank you. So a quick update. We had a budget subcommittee meeting this evening, and we talked about both facilities, the fiscal year 18 budget, and looking ahead to the fiscal year 19 budget. In terms of next meetings, we have a budget subcommittee meeting planned for February 13th and a curriculum advisory subcommittee meeting on December 18th. Some general announcements. We've talked before about our centralized registration, and that's up and underway right now. Really exciting to see. And maybe one thing that I just want to reinforce is that we have evening hours, and so families can come and register during the evening. And even this evening, we had the ability for our community liaison overseeing the Family Welcome Center to be able to greet families and get them registered into the school system. We have over 60 families from Puerto Rico who've arrived since Hurricane Maria. Putting that into context, there are about 1,800 students in the state who've arrived from Puerto Rico since the hurricane occurred, and we do anticipate statewide that we'll continue to see numbers increase, particularly at the beginning of the new year. We had a half day of professional development last Friday. Looking ahead, I appreciated what you had to say, Francis, about our school visits. We do continue to visit the schools on a regular basis. We'll be at Eastford Road School this Thursday. Looking forward to it. And you heard Ms. Skripczak mention that she has priority areas from her school improvement plan. She presented those 3 priority areas to you tonight. We've developed a protocol so that when we go visit schools, we're looking for evidence of the implementation of those priority areas, so that we're all just staying on message. No one is sort of veering off and saying, let's look at this or let's talk about that. We think that it's important that we will get somewhere if we stay very focused on a limited number of improvements that we need to make in the district. Another important thing that really gets to what we were talking about in terms of the literacy improvements that we need to make that Ms. Skripczak showed us, as well as academic engagement, is we need to improve the engagement that students have in literacy in the district, particularly at the elementary level. And so kind of putting on my Malden hat, we were able to provide some additional funding to the district. It's actually $50,000 in addition to the other funding we've already provided, so that we can find a literacy partner to help guide literacy improvement at the elementary level. The ultimate selection of the partner will be made by principals, teachers, and administrators from the central office, so that we have sort of a sense of ownership and buy-in for the work that this partner will do. But we need support in the way of coaching, professional development, and consultation to make sure that we get the right lift out of our literacy improvement, both for this year and for next year, and looking ahead in the district. So I'm excited about that, and the RFP has gone out, so we're accepting bids right now from potential vendors to provide this support to the district. and I'll look forward to giving you an update in January about where we stand on that. Some school events, we have the Thanksgiving game against Bartlett and the traditional bonfire the night before. I always worry whenever we're burning things, and so I sat by my phone, but everything went fine, so I'm very happy about that. Pleased that school committee members, families, and members of the community were invited to West Street for an awards ceremony on Thursday, December 7th to recognize students who met or exceeded in their MCAS results. A couple other updates. School improvement plans have been posted to the website. You asked for that at a previous meeting, and so we made sure that we delivered on that. The most recent edition of our newsletter, keep in mind that's coming out every month. That came out in mid-November, and we have a copy attached in your packet for you as well, so that you can see what that looks like. We issued inclement weather guidelines. I was up very early this morning just with that nagging fear that maybe it was going to be worse than they were reporting. So I was up at about 4 o'clock this morning, and I did not call Mr. Como because it didn't look like I needed to, but pleased that we have a good plan in place for inclement weather as it occurs here in Southbridge. Mr. Racine explained earlier this evening, Mr. Racine, our business manager, explained that we did an extensive training on procurement law on December 7th, both with the town and the school department together, making sure that we are very square on how procurement processes unfold. The Inspector General's office led that training. At every meeting, we're trying to give you an update on donations that have been received from the school district, and a lot of generosity, obviously, and just repeating generosity that we've talked about in terms of the response to the disaster in Puerto Rico and for families in need at Thanksgiving. The most current donations at this time include new coats valued at $2,000, donated to Charlton Street School from community member Nick Gromyko. Art supplies for elementary students donated by Charter Communications, and school-based and district-wide Thanksgiving food drives included contributions from generous community members, including New Vision Church, Southbridge Lions Club, Southbridge Elementary PTA, Carl's Diner, Gray House, school staff members, Tri-County Church Collaborative, Southbridge High School Council, and several local organizations who wish to remain anonymous. Getting near the end here, some staffing updates. The receiver search is well underway, and I will provide more information as soon as I have it. But I'm actually pleased with the process and the progress that we're making. And a known need that we have is to increase the pool of day-to-day subs in the district, and we are actively working towards that. But I'd say this is a challenge area, and something that finding enough subs for the district when unemployment nationally is at 4.1%, finding people to be subs is definitely a challenge at this time.
I know.
I have a question relating subs. I know that temporary, like subs work on a per diem basis, but I know the district has a lot of permanent substitutes, and I was wondering, are they offered health insurance?
So there is a threshold for the number of hours that you work in a year by which you have to receive health insurance, and so we just follow those guidelines. They're state guidelines, and we make sure we follow them.
Okay, I just, that would be, I know that you have trouble attracting people to fill these positions, and I think if they had health insurance, it would be a really big incentive for somebody to want to work in one of those positions. I've been a substitute teacher. That was my first job out of college, and it was really hard, so.
Yes.
Yeah, so.
Right, absolutely, absolutely. And so my final word is we look forward to the December break from the starting on the 22nd will be our last day with students, and so it'll extend from the 25th to January 1st. We do have some concerts coming up in the schools, and the dates for those include, shoot, I lost them, I have them queued up, but we know that the middle school concert is this Thursday. The high school concert is, oh, thank you so much. The high school concert is tomorrow, Wednesday at 7 p.m. Middle school concert Thursday at 6:30. Charlton Street on the 22nd at 1:15. West Street has a 9:30 concert on the 22nd for grades 2 and 3, and a 1 p.m. concert for grades 4 and 5. And Ms. Skripczak also talked about her 21st. At what time? 9:30. There's 4 concerts on the 21st in the newsletter. Perfect. Thank you, Ms. Skripczak. Happy holidays to all.
Thank you, Dr. Johnston. Our next meeting date will be on Tuesday, January 9th, 2018. Another year has come. 7 p.m. right here in these chambers. At this time, we're moving on to item 6, committee member forum. Anybody have anything they'd like to bring forth this evening? Mr. Vall.
All I want to say is I went to that West Street School MCAS presentation. I thought it was so cute to watch the kids and everything being honored for what they have accomplished. It was very nice.
Wonderful. Thank you. Ms. Pellican, anything?
I have a big, long list, but, you know, I don't want to, like, dominate the meeting, so if anybody else wants to go first, that's fine.
Ms. Ryan?
I just want to say, I've noticed I've gotten a number of emails from parents as bullying has been a big concern over the last couple of weeks. Actually, an email from one of the was pertaining to an item that was stolen from one of her children that was valued at $500 or more, and it was a little concerning at that she felt that there was a lack of concern from the district, and not enough initiative was taken by the district to address the issue. So I just wanted to bring that forward, that there is a general consensus right now that bullying is becoming a huge problem within the district, even more so than in years past.
I would like to second everything Jackie just said. Yeah. Thank you for bringing that up.
Would you like to bring forth your list at this time?
Okay. The first item I have, so my daughter Eve is in the 3rd grade at West Street School. She's in Mrs. Wall's class, and her class is doing a really nice community service project, so I wanted to mention that to kind of get the word out. As you know, we just mentioned a lot of kids have come into the district recently from Puerto Rico, and a lot of those kids are not coming with much. So her class is doing a toy drive and a winter accessories drive. If you have anything to donate, you can bring it right to the school, and the deadline to get donations in is December 20th. So I just wanted to put that out there. So if anybody has anything they can contribute, please do so. My family was really excited to participate in it, so I just wanted to pass that along. Jackie, I thought you were going to talk about the kid who got his glasses stolen.
I did bring that up as an item that was worth $500 or more. Stolen from.
Yeah, okay, so I guess in the last week, there was a high school student who got his really expensive prescription glasses stolen out of his bag at gym class. And I don't understand why the school didn't do more to respond to the incident. I mean, I'm not one, like, I don't think, like, the police should be, like, called, like, all the time at the school. I think, you know, we should not have any more police involvement with the school than absolutely necessary. But at the same time, like, stealing $500 prescription glasses is felony larceny. And I believe that sort of incident needs to be taken a lot more seriously by the administration. And anyway, after that incident, I was thinking about kids and glasses in Southbridge, and I grew up, you know, as a kid in Southbridge wearing glasses, and I know we're the eye of the Commonwealth. You know, we have a rich history of glasses. And I know that we have a lot of kids that don't have a lot of money in their families, and I know Mass Health covers eye exams, but they don't always cover like actual like glasses, like lenses and frames. And I was thinking it would be really nice if, like, moving forward, this is something we could talk about, like maybe coming up with some sort of program to assist students who need glasses, because I think that it would benefit the community in so many ways. I mean, not having the ability to see properly affects your academic performance. There's so many ways in which being able to see is like so important to a child's life. I feel like this is something we could do more to help kids. Okay, so I'm hesitant to bring up like town council related business like on the school committee side, because I don't want them like influencing our stuff more than they have to, and I don't want to influence their stuff more than we have to. But I know recently, there was an opportunity to use state grant money to develop a riverside park along the Quinnebog River. And I know, see, you're smiling. This is like a controversial thing. I think public spaces in Southbridge are very important, particularly in a community like Southbridge where a lot of kids aren't living in nice apartments and they don't have nice yards. Public spaces are important for kids. And so the town council had the opportunity to use state grant money to develop a really nice park, and for some reason they decided not to move forward with the project. And I know that I'm not on the town council anymore, so I don't get a vote on this issue, but as a elected official in the town of Southbridge, I feel like quality of life issues are important, and I feel like kids in Southbridge deserve to have nice places to go, and the park is very important to me. So I know technically we're in receivership and we can't vote on things, but I would like to ask the board if people would be interested in signing on to a letter in support of the park if I drafted a letter. I mean, you don't have to give an answer to me right now, but I would like you all to consider it, and if that's something you'd be open to doing, I would like to move forward on that. I know we did sign a letter about question 2 last year, the charter school ballot question, so I know we do have a precedent for doing this in the past, so it's something I would like to do if the board is open to doing it. Yeah, and the last thing I have to say isn't strictly related to my service on the school committee, but in the interest of full disclosure, I would be remiss if I didn't publicly mention this. So, I don't know, I don't really have a good way of saying this, but as you know, I'm a parent with 2 elementary school-aged children in the district, one of whom has some pretty significant disabilities. And my personal experience as a parent in the school district this year, I know I can't get into specifics because a lot of this involves specific school personnel, and I can't talk about school personnel issues as a public figure. But I would like to say that my experience as a parent of a special needs child in the school district this year has been so cartoonishly bad that I can't do this to my family anymore, and at the end of the month I am pulling my kids out of the district. And it's really sad because I love Southbridge so much. I went to school here, my parents went to school here, my grandparents went to school here, but I'm a mom first and I have to do what's right for my family. So that's all for me tonight.
Thank you. Mr. Lazo, anything?
A couple of things. Committee member Pelican brought up the water park, $200,000 grant. It was voted down. I wasn't prepared to bring anything up tonight on it, but I do want to talk to the councilors to find out, was it the process procedure? Was it, there has to be something caught on to this. I don't know any community that votes down a water park, especially if it's grant money and not tax dollars. So there are some blank spots. I don't think this is the forum for me to discuss it, but since you brought it up, I will be talking to the councilors to try and understand, because we are in the kids business on school side, and water parks are basically built for kids. Right. It's like playing fields and tennis courts. So I think that we should take some sort of interest in what we do for our kids and what we offer them, and I think it's out of our realm as far as a vote. But it would be nice to sit down and talk with the chairman and some various councilors that I know very well and find out what the issue was, because it just didn't add up for me. That's one. Two, I just have a question of the receiver. It's been a while as far as process and procedure. At what point do the fall coaches apply for positions in the Southbridge school system?
The fall coaches?
Yeah, the fall coaches, when does that open up to apply for the jobs for the fall sports?
Right, so I'm going based on past experience that sometimes it's in the spring or early part of the summer.
Spring, early summer?
So you mean in terms of for next year?
Yes.
Right.
Thank you.
Could
I can follow up with more specifics
I'll
about.
talk to you about that.
Do we appoint, like in the district I'm in now, all our coaches for the entire year are appointed prior to the start of school? Do we do that, or do we do them by season?
My understanding is by season, but I can follow up to be more
All right,
specific.
thank you.
Can I follow up on something Member Lazo said? Just on the park thing. And maybe this is like a cultural issue about politics in Southbridge, but I think that there's a long-standing problem with like municipal officials in the town of Southbridge not valuing public spaces. Like one of the most disappointing things that happened when I served on the town council is we were offered a grant to build a splash park, and the town said no, because they didn't want to spend money on the water. And it was just such a short-sighted and like disappointing decision. It was like, of all of the things that like I lived through being a town councilor, it was just really demoralizing because it was such a short-sighted decision. There are so many different ways we could have figured out to like pay for the water to run the splash park. We could have had like, businesses sponsor the park for a day. We could have partnered with like a nonprofit organization. I just, I understand that like it's a counselor's responsibility to be diligent and, do their homework and make, the best choices they can make for the town. But I think that if there are like problems with a proposal, it means you need to go back and work more on the proposal. It doesn't mean you should say that the proposal is not possible. So, thank you.
Could we keep our comments related, folks, to school committee business, please?
Is that a policy issue, Mr. Chairman?
Pardon me?
I understand the chairman's, rule is final, but, I'm a publicly elected official in the town of Southbridge, and I think it's appropriate to talk about the importance of public spaces in the town of Southbridge.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Ryan?
I don't know if now I'm going to be overruled by the chair, but I guess I sat on the general government subcommittee that recommended a no vote on this proposal specifically, and it was a unanimous vote. And the reason it was unanimous was because there was a lot of concern as to the financial, the way it was financially drafted. This particular grant was part of a group of grants that was, once approved, was held up by the governor, and then we ended up having to pay the entirety of the park, or entirety of the grant, out of our own pocket. And that was to the tune of $330,000. And right now, at least my vote, I can't speak to the entirety of the committee, but I can speak to my own vote. I was looking at the fiscal constraints we're going to be facing over the next couple of years and wanting to make smart fiscal decisions as a member of the general government subcommittee towards improving our school system overall and improving the infrastructure of the entirety of the town, and wanted to see a better proposal, maybe with a different type of grant for that park. I'm not opposed to having a park there. That was not my reasoning for shooting it down. It was for mainly the way it was financially drafted. And I think that a lot of that detail gets lost. I think people get stuck on policy platitudes and don't understand the dynamics and the specifics that go into a policy. And sometimes you have to make a sound judgment call on those fiscal matters, especially with the current fiscal state of the town. So I think people are making strong platitudes about the town doesn't respect public spaces. I disagree. I think it's about financials and how we financially draft a document to get to that point.
Thank you. Mr. Lazo?
Thank you. I'd like to finish. I had one other issue. The question I had was about the fall sports.
Yes.
And I thank you for that answer, and we'll follow it up. And the last thing I'd just like to say to the citizens of Southbridge, Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Thank you.
Amen.
Thank you. I'm going to just take a moment. I want to mention a longtime member of the Southbridge High School community. I worked with this woman for many years, Mrs. Varon. She was a secretary in the main office for many years. Anybody who went through the school system knew Jackie. She was a shining star in our school system for many years. I want to reach out to the Varon family, offer our condolences as a committee and as a community. We'll miss her. She was always a lot of fun to be around. Wish her family the very best during the holiday season coming up. And with that being said, I too want to send along holiday wishes to everybody in the community and the school system. I want to thank the employees for their continued diligence in trying to turn around a very challenging situation. So best of luck to everybody. Happy holidays, and we'll see you in January. Thank you. At adjournment?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you. Good night.